Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to welcome you here from Berlin to our European Game Debate on Investment and Publishing. This morning, I am here with Mr. Christian Schlosser, who is the initiator of this initiative. And we are looking to a very exciting day with inspiring keynotes, 4 panels with participants from all over Europe about publishing and investment. So we want to jump directly into the program. We will have a couple of introducing words by Mr. Felix Falsk, Managing Director for the Game Association, and also Maciek Szymanowicz, the Policy Officer of Creative Europe Media Desk. But first, I'm very happy to welcome here Monsieur Tobias Smetana, the Director General Digital Society of the Federal Ministry of Transport and Digital Infrastructure. He is one of the initiators, of course, and he welcomes us in his house this morning. So thank you, Mr. Smetana. This is your word now.
Dear participants from across Europe, it's a pleasure for me to welcome you here to the German Federal Ministry of Transport and Digital Infrastructure. I'm delighted that I have the opportunity to address you all to today's online expert forum on European games market investments and financing. My name is Tobias Smetana, Director General for Digital Society in our ministry. According to our original plans, I was supposed to address a small online expert meeting. However, with the impressive response we have received from the community, and around 180 registrations, it's fair to elevate this event to the conference category. So let me first thank our partners from Spielfabrik and also my team of Mr. Schlosser for doing a fantastic job in preparing this meeting and assembling a group of eminent speakers from all over Europe covering different aspects of the topic. With today's expert meeting, we hope that we can kickstart a dialogue on several current themes that are of strategic importance for growing video game sector in Europe. Against this background, I would first like to highlight some of the key dimensions, trends and opportunities, as well as our strategic responses from the policy side. For several years, the gaming sector is expanding at fast pace worldwide. Not only in Germany, but also in the European and the global level, in recent years, a growing recognition evolved from computer games as an important part of the digital creative industry with significant innovation potentials for the society and the economy. In response, several countries have established public funding programs or tax rebates at national and regional level to incentivize expanded game production and raise the global competitiveness of their innovative entrepreneurs in this field. Germany has long recognized video games as an important sector for the digital economy. For several years, the federal government is engaged in funding the German Video Game Awards. Nevertheless, we also had to witness a trend that the industry as a whole and the sale of games has been continuously expanding, while the market share of companies based in Germany has remained stagnant or is even declining in relative terms. Against this background, in the Coalition Treaty of February 2018, the political partners constituting the federal government agreed to establish a designated funding program to financially support computer game production in Germany. The objective is to strengthen the game industry in Germany, both in relation to the domestic and international context. At the same time, we want to leverage the innovation potentials of the game developers community for other sectors. The Deutsche Bundestag in the 2019 and 2020 budget allocated a total of 250 million euros for the new program for the next years. As a result of the deliberations for the 2021 budget, the time corridor for financial grants will be extended towards the year 2026 to enable a solid perspective for games investments in Germany. After the first budget portion was awarded in 2019, we started out with a pilot phase for grants below 200,000 euros to bridge the time needed for preparing the necessary notification EU process for the main program. For this first step, we commissioned 226 projects at a total grant volume of 27 million euros. Following EU approval in 2020 for the main phase, the program is now fully operational. Since late September 2020, when our Minister Andreas Scheuer announced the start, we have received 48 grant applications with an estimated grant volume of 38 million euros. We are confident that we have set a path for strong support for developers and publishers based in Germany. Yet, after all, in the wider economic context, public support mechanisms can only exert a kickstarting role. Ultimately, strengthening linkages to the financial industry and investors community are key elements for further expanding the sector. This perspective is at the center of today's Experts Forum. We want to discuss the current market setting, investment opportunities and recommendations for raising the profile of video game production in Europe. Beyond individual initiatives at member states and regional level, it seems eminent that we join hands to expand the overall market environment in Europe. Against this background, the following key questions that will guide the discussion today. What are the financing sources currently available for games development in Europe? How attractive is the gaming sector to private investment and the capital markets? How can the publishers strengthen their financial means and capacity? How can we entice the financial players to the game sector and encourage additional engagement? Which support is needed for developers to professionalize and craft smart financing strategies? In setting up today's event, we have addressed key players that could foster and contribute to expanding the European gaming sector and start a community dialogue about broadening the range of financial investment in the games sector. Already at this stage, I would like to thank all participants for their interest and engagement in joining us in this endeavor. I am confident that we will make a successful start of a process towards building a stronger European video game sector. I wish us all a successful meeting and interesting debates. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mithaner. Thank you very much. And dear participants and speakers of this first European Game Debate, I'm also delighted to welcome you today for this online conference from Berlin. My name is Thierry Beaujard, and I'm the co-founder of Spielfabrik, which is an acceleration program focusing on gaming to support cross-border collaboration. So I would like, of course, to start with to thank again Dr. Mithaner and Dr. Schlosser and their team from the Federal Ministry for Transport and Digital Infrastructure for their interest and support, and really support to create this debate about gaming in Europe. Yes, because today we're talking really about starting a debate. It's not really just a conference. We'd like to develop a discussion, to discuss how to strengthen the position of the European gaming sector. In that in mind, we have developed for today, for the planning of the day, a full day with different experts from the investment and the financing community. And the question is not to look for whether we need more funding, but more about how to increase new funding sources for the gaming sector in Europe. And we see Spielfabrik as a potential coordinator, facilitator for the development of this young ecosystem in Europe. And because we need more exchanges between the different players, and we need more structuration in the sector to make sure that everybody is catered with the relevant financing. So today we have created 4 panels to focus on financing and investment to start with. We've taken the liberty to start from this part to discuss on public funding, on publishing, on private funding, and at last on professionalization of the ecosystem to find best way to access this funding. So the idea is to build a community to bring solution for funding, and we need to know what you think. Send us your comments, your ideas, your disagreement, your recommendation, your interest. We are interested to develop this debate further with hopefully every year a kind of debate like that, but also maybe with smaller groups but we can take care online and hopefully very soon offline. So I hope you will have an inspiring and productive day. And I'm now happy to give the floor to Felix Falk, who is the Managing Director of GAME, the German Game Industry Association. I wish you a great day. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Thierry. Thanks for having me. It's, I would say, a perfect timing for this event today, after we just have seen last Friday 5 more projects being approved by the ministry with 5 million funding. So we are just starting in Germany, and I think that's a great timing to come together and speak about the future of the games industry in Germany. I think our journey has been quite long to get a level playing field in Germany. We wanted always, as industry in Germany, to see more games from Germany and to become a hotspot within Europe and worldwide. And I think now, after many years, we actually have the chance, because the level playing field is set up. We have seen that Germany, when it comes to revenue, is already and has already been for years number 5 in the world. So we are pretty good when it comes to the question how many people play games and buy games in Germany. But only 5% of the games came out from Germany when it comes to revenue. So we said that's something we need to challenge and we can be better at. And we had a lot of help by Angela Merkel, by many politicians over the last years, until we had the success, what Dr. Mitana already said, that the German Bundestag, the parliament, approved the 50 million per year to set up public funding. So this is that's been a lot of work, and I'm really happy that we were able to set this up on the basis of our concept as associations, which we put together with our members, and now it comes to life. And I'm happy to take the opportunity to say thank you to everybody who contributed to it, especially here in the ministry, Mr. Mitana and Mr. Schlosser, you and your team. You had a lot of work. You put a lot of effort into everything that needed to be set up by the first time, because we never had such a public funding model on a federal basis. So also your partners like DLR and the project owners, that's been a crazy amount of work you put into this, and it has not always been easy. Also, not easy with us as association. We are quite, we do have a lot of ideas. We are demanding. We want to reach a lot of things in this German games industry, but therefore I'm really thankful for the great partnership we had and what we built up in the last years, coming now to life. Just to remind you, I know many of you in this event come from the games industry, know about the beauty of the games industry, but just to make sure, I want to remind, why do we want stronger games in Germany? Why do we want to see more games from Germany, and why is it so important, and why do we need a level playing field? That's because of 3 things. Games are the most interesting and the greatest media form right now. And games have such a positive effect on, first, culture and society, second, on economy, and third, on, technology and innovation. And you can see this, especially in this very challenging year with COVID-19, because games have proved what positive aspects they bring to society when it comes to how many people have played in the last month and stayed together with their friends and their family, and have enjoyed the time even in the hard times of lockdown. Also, projects like Folding at Home, where games helped to fight against the virus and to help the scientists to come closer to their goals to fight the virus. So the games industry has had an impact on that. Also, our digital ideas and solution helped in many fields, just reminding you on the question, how are pupils, when they can't go to school, how are they trained, and on what do you take, and what what solutions do you find when it comes to homeschooling? Or last but not least, I think with events like Gamescom, purely digital also this year, we always prove as industry that we have the creativity and the ability to innovate, even in these challenging times. And I think that's a good sign showing that the positive impact of games is huge. And I'm really proud, and we can be proud of as a games industry, what we play, the importance what we play for all these fields. As Game Association, we have more than 300 members, so we are one of the biggest associations in the world, combining what I'm really happy about, combining all the different fields, all the different actors and stakeholders of the industry, from developers, publishers to esports organizers or universities. So I think we together are a strong force with our mission to make Germany the best location for games. I know there's quite some more steps to go, but we are very confident and we are really willing to do so. We want to go to this mission together with you. We want to go on this mission together with you, and I want to invite you, everybody, to do even more in Germany, because now, when we have this level playing field, thanks to also the public funding, it's on us. It's on us and our strength and on our creativity to show that we are able to contribute this all together to society, to economy, and to build up in the next years. So be invited. Please become a part of the German games industry and of our great community. I think we can offer very, very much and a lot. Missing one thing, I'm afraid, which is Per Strombeck. He's one of the greatest guys you choose as moderator for this event, and I'm afraid he's not from Germany. Not now. Maybe I can make him to move. So that's one missing spot, but everything else is set up for you to be successful with gaming in Germany. So I wish you all a successful day, as inspirational talks, and have fun. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to this event. It's always a pleasure to talk to video games community. As Thierry Bourget said, the debate is just starting, so let me please chip in a couple of facts from the European perspective. So as this debate today rounds around the question of market setup for video games industry, investment opportunities and policy actions, let me quickly touch upon these different elements. So what is interesting, for a few years now, we have a definition of culture and creative sectors. Before, culture and creative sectors were never treated as an investment opportunity. Since few years, there is a kind of an agreement that culture and creative sectors are an industrial objective. This means that we have a number of statistical options now. The culture and creative sectors were gathered together, and the economic value is estimated quite high. So just let me give you a couple of examples. What we are understanding by the culture and creative sectors are the economical sectors which circle around creation. So we are talking about audiovisual, music, performing arts, but also video games. And if you look at the figures, in terms of economic importance of the culture and creative sectors in Europe, we are talking here about millions of jobs, 6.7 million. We are talking about millions of companies, 2.5 million. We are talking about positive employment trends. We are talking about 4% of the European GDP. And those sectors, they include a number of subsectors. And what is also important, the trends are quite positive in terms of employment and economic growth. For the video games sector, as you know, if you look at the from the global perspective, from the European perspective, the sector is quite big. It's over 5,000 companies. It's 80,000 employees. It's 23.6 billion of revenues in 2019. And when we are talking about the size of the sector, we have to understand that video game sector is probably one of the most underrated sectors in Europe. It's linked to the fact that statistical offices are not really prepared to catch the real value of video game sectors. So we may say that it's underestimation of the size of this industry in Europe. What is also important is that purely from the economical terms of our discussion today, is that video sector is a kind of a forefront of the ongoing digital revolution, is innovating with the new revenue sources stemming from the online consumption, is benefiting already from a changing legal structure in Europe, which will also have impact on the revenue streams. And the sector is very dynamic, and there is a number of success stories. Now, does it lead to increased investment in Europe? Looking purely for market investment, I'm talking here about banks, financial intermediaries, equity financiers. Yes and no at the same time. Actually, if you speak to financiers, they still see investment into cultural and creative sectors as a kind of a very risky business. They are maybe not very much prepared to understand in the financial terms the impact of ever-changing technology. Their success rates could be quite low when they are assessing the possibilities. It's this hit-driven approach to a number of cultural and creative sectors. It's an IP-based industry, and valuation of IP is a difficult topic for financiers. So they see this investment as a high risk and a low return. That's why a couple of years ago, at the Commission level, we started to think that maybe there is a need to develop also the financial instruments at the European level, which would, on the one hand, make access to finance easier for the companies from the cultural and creative sectors, including, of course, video games, and on the other hand, which would educate financiers and investors on the trends and possible gains of investing into the cultural and creative sectors. And this has started in 2016 with the introduction of so-called Cultural and Creative Sectors Guarantee Facility, which is a debt instrument which makes access to debt finance easier to the company. And I must tell you, it's quite a success already. So we expect that by the end 2023, the investment volumes will reach nearly 2.5 billion euros in Europe. Currently, after only a couple of 2 years of implementation, actually, the volumes are 700 million of guaranteed loans and nearly 3,200 projects supported. And there's a significant part of those investment going into video games companies. I also mentioned the second element, which is the education of financiers, and I think this is a crucial element, because as you know, the definition of cultural and creative sectors was not used by the politicians before. also this notion of economic importance of the culture and creative sector is not known by the financiers. So talking to the marketing departments, talking to the sales departments, talking to the risk people helps when European Investment Fund and companies who are providing this type of expertise to banks go over and talk, and we can see that after such preparations, the volumes of finance are growing. And will this, what will be the next steps with this access to finance approach? We plan to do even more, actually, post 2020 with the InvestEU program, which will be the main financial tool for the Commission to work with the financial markets. And actually, what we are planning to do is to continue with the debt finance, which is crucial for a number of companies, but also engage much more closer with equity environment in Europe. Equity venture capital funds, they probably do not invest enough right now into the sector. We have the estimates that there is a significant market gap of a couple of billion euros just stemming from the equity. And surprisingly enough, investors from Asia or America are much more active on this market of video games in Europe than the local investors. So there is a plan to co-invest also with the equity financiers in Europe to increase the number of deals for the video games companies who need this type of finance. So as you see, this could be a kind of a comprehensive approach to the finance. So we will have debt, equity, plus education. And just let me quickly now move to the policy replies. I think now when we have the culture and creative sectors defined as an industrial policy objective, and that was underlined by Mr. Thierry Breton, where he wants industrial approach to culture and creative sectors in Europe, where he wants culture and creative sectors to see the whole European continent as their market and to grow to international market. There is also a number of other recent developments. You might have heard about the recovery facility, which is now being discussed, the one which should help member states to overcome the economic crisis linked to COVID. And 20% of the recovery plans of member states should be focused on the digital investment. And the Commission is working with member states to check the plans to see how they plan to implement this. And a number of countries are indeed putting culture as one of the main objectives. So this makes a clear link between video games and investment. There is also adopted just last week Intellectual Property Action Plan. That's a strategic document from the Commission which should help bring new financial resources to SMEs from the culture and creative sectors, and as well very much IP based, and help them to access finance. And finally, as Mr. Breton said a couple of months ago, the Commission is about to launch the Media Action Plan, which on the top of facilitating investment, and especially equity investment into audiovisual and video games, will also touch upon a number of, I think, important elements for the video games community. So we plan to engage with the industry and stakeholders into a kind of an industrial dialogue for development of artificial intelligence and virtual reality in Europe. We plan to work with the industry on the environmental sustainability, which is one of the main topics now in the Commission. There will be a number of actions which should help develop talents and skills for culture and creative sectors. And finally, we would like to also work with the member states on improving the media literacy programs, especially for young children, and also include video games into media literacy training. So this is briefly what the Commission is planning in the coming years. I hope that this gives you a little bit of overview in which direction this goes, and I think this goes in the right direction, putting more firepower in terms of financial means, but also putting video games much more higher on the political agenda of Europe and cooperation with member states. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Maciek, and also Felix. It's nice to see that Germany is getting stronger within Europe, but also it's nice to see that Europe is putting more and more effort on video games, and really also we see that a lot of things are happening, and that we do have a future in Europe and also of cooperation. So thank you for that.